David Ambuhl. I'm the Chief Deputy Director for District 4, and I'm excited to be with you today, kicking off this town hall for 2022. We have an exciting lineup planned for everyone, as well as a Q&A session. But before I get started, I want to go over some of the housekeeping rules. Please be advised the town hall is being recorded. To maximize accessibility, the town hall is being streamed in both WebEx and YouTube. If you haven't done so already, please submit your questions so you can do so by inputting them into the YouTube chat, WebEx chat, or raising your hand in the WebEx, and we will address your questions during the Q&A portion of the town hall. Please note, questions submitted will only be visible to the panelists. During the course of the town hall, we will attempt to get through as many questions as possible today. Any questions not answered in today's town hall will be responded to and posted on the District 4 intranet homepage. Before I introduce our first speaker, I would like to briefly take a moment and talk about our theme, Roadmap to 2022, Reflect, Reimagine, and Revitalize. Let's start with reflect. Before we look at the road ahead, it's important to see where we have been so we can learn from our past and also take pride in our accomplishments. As a whole, this past year had its share of challenges, but as a district, we continued to forge ahead, and that speaks loudly to the resiliency within this district. And we'll hear more about this and these accomplishments in a little bit. Reimagine. It speaks to the new perspective that Caltrans has embraced when it looks at where and how investments are made. Going forward in 2022, we will draw from our new foundational principles of safety, climate action, and equity to guide us. We must look at what we do and how we do it by considering people first. And finally, revitalize. Our opportunity to shape the future by creating a transportation system of tomorrow. One that is a well-connected multimodal network that will serve all people of California. We'll hear more about our themes from our next few speakers. We are honored to have Director Toke Somashakin with us today to share a few words. But before we hear from him on this virtual stage, I'd like to hand it over to our District Director, Dina El-Chouanzi, for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Dave, and good afternoon, Team Caltrans Bay Area. I think this is our first meeting in 2022. So Happy New Year to all of you, and Happy New Lunar Year as well. February 1st marked the beginning of the Year of the Tiger, and I was looking what that means, just for my own personal knowledge. So the tiger embodies courage and bravery. So this year could symbolize resiliency and strength, and that's my wish for all of you. Unfortunately, it's another virtual meeting that we're having today. I was hoping that we will have the opportunity soon to get together in person in our district office in Oakland. We are planning to return to the office at some point, but there will be changes as we look to capitalize on the efficiencies we've developed within our functional units while working remotely. So more to come on that as we further transition from emergency telework to other forms of telework. For now, let's continue to make the very best of our virtual environment and optimize our time here together. So as you can see, we're all excited about the theme for this meeting. Road to 2022, Reflect, Reimagine, and Revitalize. I want to start off by reflecting on 2021. 2021 was a year of success, opportunities, and many challenges. It was also a year of major accomplishments, and a change and a shift in our culture and direction as an organization and as a district. As we get started, I would like to reflect and acknowledge the diligent work of all of you and our resiliency working through the pandemic. Our field staff has done a tremendous job. They always have. Our maintenance, construction, and survey staff have gone above the call of duty, working on projects, dealing with emergency work, director's order, and keeping our roads safe and open throughout the year. Our delivery team in design, environmental, right-of-way, operations, and our project and program management have met and continue to meet the commitments that we made to the public overcoming obstacles, exploring new opportunities and innovative delivery methods while maintaining project scope, budgets, and schedules. Our planning and local assistance team has continued to work on PIDs to position us for all the funding that's coming our way through our SHOP program, our competitive programs, and helping our local partners to re-envision projects and navigate federal requirements. And they are doing that, meeting incredibly tight deadlines and while embracing constant changes. We've made great strides as a district, and we are leading the rest of the state when it comes to active transportation, complete streets, and climate resiliency work. Our external affairs team, who by the way helped put this town hall together, so thank you external affairs along with our IT team that has always been awesome. Our external affairs team continue to expand on our community engagement and equity effort in unprecedented ways. Not only covering our traditional project needs and outreach, but also highlighting and spotlighting through social media our SP1 delivery successes and our Clean California efforts, and working alongside with our incredible maintenance team. Our admin staff continues to provide us with guidance and ensuring that our building is safe in the evolving world of the pandemic. And the list goes on and on. Our director, Omashakin, will be joining us shortly, and he will be going deeper into some of these successes. But for right now, I want to give you all my heartfelt thank you. Reimagining. As we talk about reimagining our roles, it's not just about capital delivery. The department is having a bigger role in active transportation, integrating real measures into our projects to improve climate resiliency and increasing our efforts in equity. It's invigorating to see Caltrans take a much broader approach in the way we view our transportation system and embracing these ideas and also making deeper commitment to multimodal transportation. We all need to reimagine our roles and let our foundational principles of safety, equity, and climate action guide all our decisions and be the lens through which we view our projects and operation and maintenance practices. Our district is unique in Caltrans. We face so many of the largest impacts of the state as we look at the effects of people experiencing homelessness, the impacts our work has on communities, and the climate change challenges like sea level rise, being one of the districts with the most interface with the sea. We've got the bay, the delta, and the coast. We definitely have a lot to prepare for. But we also live in a fairly progressive region that's eager to improve the environment and to have multimodal solution and to do it in an equitable fashion. These are all wonderful opportunities to have. It's no longer about congestion relief in which we prioritize movements of vehicles. It's about encouraging and providing transportation options by facilitating mode shift. It's about ensuring that our system is equitably serving all transportation modes, all ages, all abilities, and all income levels. It's about putting people first in everything that we do. Our people here in the district, our community and region of the Bay at large. We in District 4 serve approximately 25% of the population of the great state of California. This is not trivial. They count on us to provide safe, sustainable, and reliable, and now multimodal transportation solutions. Believe me, your work matters. We need to all continue to reimagine what's possible, look for innovative and transformative ways to be more effective and efficient in everything that we do. Look for innovations to improve our own work environment and the quality of life for everyone who work, live, and visit our region. As we embark on the new year, our focus is to revitalize and continue with all the commitments that we've made to the public. This year is no doubt the most exciting of my 24 years in this field. We have unprecedented levels of funding. We have money to deliver projects and services that are much needed and have been deferred for years. We have exciting opportunities to partner with our federal, state, regional, and local partners and to make a huge positive impact. In addition to our capital delivery program, our CFD, our maintenance our maintenance also contract for delivery. We're also implementing Clean California, the governor's $1.2 billion initiative to clean, beautify our state, create jobs, and launch a public education campaign. We are implementing in partnership with the Department of Technology, the broadband middle mile projects. We are also initiating many projects to accelerate bridge repairs in our district, on and off our highway system. We are gearing towards implementing the biggest infrastructure bill of our time, $1.2 billion, known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill or the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act. We look forward to all the opportunities that come to our region through all these additional funding to continue to put our efforts to implement complete streets, additional climate resiliency projects, additional safety projects, and engaging with local artists on beautification projects and working on reconnecting our communities. I want to emphasize that we are hiring and we're looking to hire in all classification. Please spread the word as we would like to really intensify our hiring efforts and recruit locally for better retention. All this great work that's being done in the present is done by you, our Caltrans Bay Area team, and it's you today that we want to focus on. With that said, I would like to pause and would like to watch a short video.
Let me extend my thank you to you for your part in delivering this tremendous project, one that undertakes the challenges of building a new road in this environmentally sensitive area. While we appreciate the beauty of this coast, we also understand that there are many challenges it presents. So let's talk about the biggest issue of the 21st century, which is sea level rise. This is the first project facing sea level rise head on. Sea level rise was the #1 issue when we designed this project. The rising seas that threaten Highway 1 here also threaten the highway on many locations along the coastline. But we're tackling it here first. So I want to emphasize this work is unprecedented.
Beautiful day in Richmond to get launched, to get started on Governor Newsom's new initiative called Clean California. We're very excited to get this initiative started, get this initiative going. This is the most comprehensive effort our state has ever undertaken to clean up public spaces, and in particular, the right-of-way on our system. Our Caltrans team, they've been working hard for years, very hard for years, to keep public areas, to keep our right-of-way clean, but the resources haven't always been there. 3 years ago, we were spending $60 million to clean up the right-of-way. Last year, during the pandemic, we got up to $100 million. Governor Newsom's initiative is going to allow us to potentially spend up to $500 million.
I'm very excited to be taking part of this wonderful effort. I want to thank everyone that's out here today helping us with this initiative. I think it's really the beginning of many more cleanups and projects that we have around the district. We're excited about the governor's proposal. We're excited to get these funding spent in the right places as efficiently as possible.
What you see behind me, you see replicated all across the state of California, and it's just disgraceful. And I'm the first to acknowledge that. I get it. I see what you see. It's frustrating beyond belief to see these mattresses on the side of roads, freeways, entrances and overpasses, underpasses rather, all across the state of California. We launched Clean California formally last week with a recognition that we need to do more. We got to do better. We got to clean up the streets and clean up the thoroughfares, commercial corridors, downtowns, not just the freeways, all across the state of California. But in addition to that, we got to beautify.
but this is so important is because it sets the stage for the new standard that Caltrans has now set. District 4 is the most progressive Caltrans district in the entire state of California. They're leading the way among the Golden State in the West when it comes to preparing for sea level rise. They're preparing for the future, the challenges that we're going to be faced with. And what I'm grateful for is that District 4 Caltrans, they're moving the Bay Area forward. They're moving our rural areas forward. We couldn't be more grateful for their vision and their focus and for getting the damn job done.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So thank you again for all your efforts. We have shared some of our many experiences and efforts and challenges with Director Omoshakon, and I'm delighted that he's here today to continue the conversation on how Caltrans is evolving and how your work in the Bay Area fits the Caltrans foundational principles of safety, equity, and climate action. So without further ado, please welcome Director Omoshakon.
Wow. Very, very good afternoon. Can you hear me well? Can everybody hear me? Okay, good.
Yes, we can.
Good. Very good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see at least a few faces on the screen this afternoon. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this town hall, to be a part of this discussion. I only saw that video from halfway through as the senator was sharing his usual colorful remarks at some point in there. But very impressive video. Very good job, Dina and team. I'm not sure who all, but maybe that was Cheryl's team who helped put that together. Excellent video. Very, very good work. So I see there are probably almost 900 people on. It's impressive to have what's probably almost a third of the district participating in this discussion. So I'm honored to be a part of this meeting today, your town hall. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of it. The leadership team, David, Cheryl, Dina, who else am I forgetting? I know Doan is a part of the leadership team. Just thank you for everything that you guys are doing. Everybody that's showing up on the screen, at least, for sure. Thank you. I know you're serving in some kind of leadership capacity one way or another, so really appreciate it. So let me jump into it real quick. I've been allotted 15 minutes to share some opening, some remarks with everybody, but I'm probably not going to go that long. At least I'm going to try not to go that long. I'm going to try to be brief because that can be a little long-winded. And I would love to get to the back and forth in conversation. That's the part that I enjoy the most. I want to talk to people, not just me doing all the talking. But it's only been roughly almost 2 months now since we had our town hall in LA, and what was a very good turnout. I don't think Dina and anybody from Dina and D4 was there, but a great turnout. I'm sure, hopefully, everybody has had a chance to watch and listen to that town hall, because I thought it went very well, and the team did a very good job. But if there was anything that I'm hoping that our team took away from that discussion, it is that we are shifting, we're evolving as a team, as a department. We're evolving to become a more people-focused organization. And you've heard a lot of the other leaders in the department say this, but I want us to take it to heart. I don't want us to just talk about it. I want us to live what that means. And let me just briefly say what I think that means. It means, number one, that we as an organization, we ourselves, that we're doing as much as we can to look up for ourselves as a team. Everybody's in some form of a team in one way or another within this organization, within Caltrans. And everybody's looking out for one another as a unit, as a team. So it starts there. We can't be alienating one another or going after one. We look after each other within this department. When we say Team Caltrans or Caltrans family, like, how do we actually live that? And it starts with all of us. I know it's not easy. We're one of the largest state departments, one of the largest departments in the state. 1 in 10 people who work in government in California work for Caltrans. I don't know if you know that, but if you pull 10 people in the room that said they work for state government, at least one of them is going to be a Caltrans employee. That's how large we are. We're 10% of the entire state workforce. So, regardless of the fact that we're so large and so spread out, it doesn't deter us from being able to still be keepers of one another's well-being and look after goals that are like-minded together. But as we look out for one another, that also means that we are people-focused in the delivery of our work. So it starts inside, but in the work that we are doing for the people of the state, for the people of California, we're keeping the end in mind. And the end, it's not just building a road or building a bridge or whatever it is. That's a part, that's a product, that's a tool of the end in mind. The end in mind is making sure that we're improving quality of life for all people, not just one particular group of people, the affluent, or even just the less affluent. It's everybody. How do we balance making sure that we're creating that brighter future for everybody? That's our job. That's our responsibility. As we become more and more people focused, I think we'll continue to see amazing things come from this agency. So in doing this work, in becoming more people focused, the 3 foundational principles, I'm sure you've heard them over and over. I know Dina has been sharing this, and the rest of the leadership as well. Equity, climate, and safety. That's how we get there. Equity, climate action, and safety. Those are the things that we have to focus on. And I will put one caveat in the middle of those 3 foundational principles. I don't want people to lose sight. I don't want this team, all of you, I don't want you to lose sight of the fact that people still want us to deliver projects. When we talk about equity, climate action, and safety, people somehow think that means like that's all we now do. No, we still have to deliver projects for people, but we're delivering those projects through this lens of those 3 areas. Hopefully that is clear. It's not that we no longer have to, build a bridge or pave a highway or whatever it is whatever area it is that we're working on. We got to do that work. We have to do that work, but do it through the lens of those 3 foundational principles. And if I could just talk about one of the things that I'm very proud of for District 4 that they've been able to do under each one of these areas. Let me just touch on 3 things real quick, and then I'm gonna hand it over back to you guys for the Q&A. But some of the things that have been accomplished in these 3 areas. Number 1, in equity. When we talk about that, it's not just the projects that we do, it's not just the hiring that we do, but business opportunities as well. Business opportunities for people who are looking for business from an equity standpoint with Caltrans. I don't know if people notice or not, but just last year, well, maybe 2020, not 2021, in 2020, we spent as a department a little over $1 billion, $1.1 billion on small businesses and DBEs at Caltrans. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that we have influence over to help small businesses thrive in this state. So we want to continue to expand those opportunities, and it's an equity outlook that we have to use. One of the things that D4 did, you all did, and I'm so proud of, is the Mentor Protege program that was launched. 44 small businesses participated in that program. And I was fortunate enough, Dina and team invited me to come and speak to the group of companies, of those companies, during the graduation. And it was just a thrilling experience for me. They probably didn't know that, but just to see the excitement and the joy coming from those companies, knowing that they've not gone through this program and that it's going to mean doors opening for them to do business with Caltrans down the line. So out of the 44 that graduated from the program, 25, roughly 60%, 25 have since sought business with Caltrans and won awards. That is to be highly commended. That's to be highly commended. Keep this in mind again. This is not just about us building communities that are more equitable, that pay attention to the less fortunate's needs. That's important. Hiring and promoting and training within the department, that's equitable. But we have a tremendous opportunity as well within the department to provide business access for people. And because of the Mentor Protege program, we've gotten 44 people, 44 companies, small businesses through, and 25 have since landed work with us. So kudos to everybody who was a part of making it happen. So from equity, real quick, to climate. You know, this is one of the biggest challenges that we have as a state. And to get there, to be able to address this climate challenge, it's going to take continued focus like we're focusing on as a department. If you don't know it, 51% of the bad air quality in California, 51% of the GHG, the greenhouse gases in the state, come from the transportation sector. So we're a culprit. There's no doubt about it. We're a big part of what the climate challenge is for the state. And if you're wondering what the impact is, we used to average roughly 250,000 acres of land burning in this state every year, 250,000 annually. That's what we averaged a decade ago. Today, 2.5 million acres every year burn in California. I mean, if that's not something that's, and I know, everybody here probably lives roughly in the Bay Area, but if you live anywhere further north, you've seen what some of the months in the fall days look like, with all the smoke in the air that people have to breathe, which worsens air quality. So a lot of challenges as it relates to that. So what we have to continue to do. Oh, by the way, I will say this as well, that there are 9 counties in the Bay Area that are exposed to the challenges of sea level rise that we also have to keep in mind. So whereas if you live in Northern California, further north of the Bay Area, you're concerned about fires, the other impact is sea level rise and how vulnerable all the major cities in the Bay Area are to that sea level rise. So again, it's incumbent upon us to do more work in this space. And I know that you guys are focused on multimodal solutions, and kudos to the entire team there who's pushing those multimodal solutions like transit, walking, biking, rail opportunities, and not just looking at highway expansion, looking at opportunities to go carpooling and manage lanes. All those tools we have to continue to put on the table more than we ever have before. That's what's going to help curb it, not just electric cars. Electric cars are going to be big. They're going to be huge for this effort, but it's not the sole effort that we need to focus on. And finally, safety as the third principle there. Of all the priorities, of all the things we talk about, this is the biggest. This is by far the largest responsibility. Everybody's got to take that home, take that to heart. Like whatever we're doing, how can we possibly make it safer for people to travel, whether they're walking, biking, driving in the state? It's paramount. It's the absolute priority. Our state has not fared well recently in this. We're currently number 2 on the fatality list, only like 10 or 15 spots behind behind the state of Texas. Texas is a few fatalities ahead of us. But I want to remind everybody that in 2021, between January and June 2021, across the country, we had the worst year on record since records have been kept for fatalities in America. Over 20,000 people died in America, not from pandemic or anything, driving, walking, biking in the country. And roughly 10% of that was in California. So we had really, really, really bad in 2021, and we've got to change that. A lot of that was due to speed. People driving very fast. But we've embraced a safe systems approach. And I know Dina and the team, the D4 team, David, hopefully everybody's building the understanding of what a safe systems approach means, and is looking to implement that approach more and more throughout the district. So without going a lot further than that, I just want to thank the entire team in D4 for all the work that you guys have done. You're one of the, if not the largest district in the state, second largest district in the state. I know how much the work that you do means to so many people in California, and in particular the Bay Area. So I'm extremely appreciative of what you've been doing, and the boss, Governor Newsom, and the CalSTA team, they are as well. I've been to the Bay Area with the governor on Clean California at least 3 or 4 times to do Clean California events with him there, and he's always impressed. The governor, he's always impressed with the team, and when we talk afterwards. So thank you on so many fronts for everything that you are doing. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you have a even more amazing 2022 ahead. So thank you. With that, I know I probably went overboard already, so I'm going to go back to Dina so we can have a little bit of a back and forth. And Dina, by the way, I didn't look at any of the questions, anything. I haven't had time to prep. This is all just me talking. So the responses that I'll be given will be completely off the top of my head. So thank you.
Thank you, Director. We've got Andrea actually that's monitoring our chat for questions. So she's the one that's going to be helping us moderating it along with a few other team members.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you, Director. Huge applause in navigating the Roadmap 2022. The 3 R's: reflect, reimagine, and revitalize. We're getting ready to journey into our live chat and Q&A. District 4 is on fire. They got a lot of questions and we're ready to go. Deborah, I'm going to hand it to you and we're going to take some live questions. Go ahead, District 4.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. We welcome you all today, and I'd like to encourage fellow colleagues to go ahead and raise your hand. I see hands coming up, and I will be able to call on some before turning them over. So I will go ahead and call you and then unmute you. You can ask your question, and Dina, you can let us know which one will answer that. So right now I'm going to start off with Yetz. Yetz, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and you can answer your question. Pivot.
Is that person still there to ask the question? I didn't hear the person's name.
You may need to help Deborah out. It looks like her connectivity got.
No.
Yeah, Yetz, you are ready to go. You go ahead and mute yourself on your side and ask your question, please.
Let's come back to that person because we're not hearing from them. Let's come back. Let's line them up again.
Great idea. Let's move on to Ellen Dowden. Let me unmute you. When you're ready, Ellen, go ahead. Okay, looks like Murphy is all in the
Can you hear
WebEx
me?
with us. Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Perfect, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking about climate change planning. And I work in environmental planning, and this is not something that typically you might think of for environmental planning, but I want to, I have a question about culverts. So culverts are something that don't get a lot of attention, but culverts are going to be affected by climate change because what we know from the science is that rainfall events in California will become less frequent, but more heavy when they do come. And so the culverts, it might make sense to upgrade culverts to larger sized culverts, including box culverts. And that would also have an added benefit of improving wildlife connectivity, which is something we're also working on in environmental planning. So I just want to put that sort of a bug in your ear. I know another issue is that maintenance doesn't really have enough money to do all the culvert inspections they need to do. I know in District 4, we have a very, I think it's only 23% of our culverts have actually been inspected to know what the condition of the culverts is. And I think that would be really important to put some money into maintenance to allow maintenance to actually inspect those culverts, because that's also a major safety issue. If those culverts fail, that's a big safety issue for us. So I just want to pull all those strands together and put culverts on your horizon there, both for climate change, for safety, for wildlife connectivity, and you know, a number of reasons there. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Was that, I didn't, because your name, then your face didn't pop up on the screen. Was that Helen that was speaking? Hopefully it was. You did a very good job of tying those issues together. No doubt how important culverts are to wildlife connectivity, both from an aquatic sense and even land mammal sense. Both, it can provide connectivity on both ends. And also the fact that, well, you mentioned how far you guys are when it comes to the maintenance activities. I think the number you used was 23%. That is something that I'm sure David and his team are paying attention to. We, Ellen, we actually have goals to meet for SB1. And hopefully you're familiar with SB1 and its requirements. So we have dedicated funding for culverts, and we have goals to meet each year on the number of culverts we're upgrading, whether it be repairing them or enlarging them. Hopefully our David and his maintenance team, they're keeping up to speed on those, especially in the Bay Area, that is so close to a lot of water. Hopefully the team, I'm sure the team is paying attention to how to continue to drive that. If that number is accurate, 23, hopefully we can drive it up because of the things you mentioned, especially wildlife connectivity, also being a key component of that. Very, very good points. Okay, let's keep moving.
Thank you, Director. District 4, get those hands raised. We want to hear from you. We're going to go back to the live chat. Deborah, I'm going to pivot back to you.
Thank you, Andrea. I see some hands up. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call on Adrian Levy. Adrian, I will unmute you now and go ahead and ask your question.
Deborah, I think he has a question in the chat, so maybe you can read the question off since he's unable.
He's been unmuted. It's just a little delay. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Adrian?
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes.
Okay, thank you. With one of our principles being safety, how involved are we getting with the CHP and asking them to increase their enforcement of the speed limit?
Boy, that's a good one. Who's this again? What's your name?
My name is Adrian Levy.
Adrian, thank you for the question. It's a very good question. So I mentioned how bad 2021 was. I said there were 20,000 people who died in the first half of 2021. Between January and the end of June, over 20,000 people in the country. Part of the culprit, clearly, for those increased numbers was in 2020, during the pandemic, there was an 87% increase. 87% increase in ticketing of people going 100 miles an hour and over by CHP. 87% increase. So people were just flying, doing not speeding, not people just speeding. People were doing 100 miles an hour and over. So like beyond speeding. Like, why do you need to go 100 miles an hour? For what? Well, only an emergency, a critical emergency. But so it's the culprit. And no doubt we're partnering with them. There's something called a strategic highway safety plan, SHSP, that each state is responsible for putting together. The US DOT, the federal government, requires everybody to put that plan together. And in California, we've probably got more people at the table to put that plan together than any other state. So CHP is one of the lead entities at the table with us to implement this strategic highway safety plan. So they're definitely there with us. I'll add though that as we make this shift to a safe systems approach, and if everybody doesn't understand what it means, take the chance to look this up when you get a chance. Safe systems approach, what it means. As we make this shift towards it, we can't make the mistake of absolving people of the decisions they make as well when they drive. Because the safe systems approach really makes a shift towards focusing on the entire system of people who use the transportation system. Everybody using the system, including the fact that infrastructure is a part of that system. But sometimes people think that it means that people are no longer at fault for accidents or crashes, or incidents on the road. It does not absolve us as human beings from that. We, the people using the vehicles, we've got a big responsibility. And so CHP definitely plays a role in that. But check out everybody who's working on safety issues. All of us somehow, one way or another, should be involved in safety. But check out the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, the SHSP, and look up the Safe Systems Approach. Safe Systems Approach when you get a chance. Good question.
Great question.
Awesome.
Adrian, go ahead and mute yourself, please. Thank you. And I see a question from Mary Nuega. Mary, if you'd unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. Thank you. There's a little bit of a delay in here with our reception, so Mary may be unmuted in a moment.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mary, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to uplift Director Cox for talking about climate change. I don't know if you know that we are, my peer Erica Watkins in the Employee Services Unit. She's doing something for, Green Stop, whatever project you want to do. So I'm actually doing like canned foods. So I tell my daughter, empty that canned food, save them for me. I'm going to put like succulents in them, plants, just to empower people, that are teleworking and giving them ideas. So I think it's really good because I have an 18-year-old daughter and I really want to save the environment for our future generation. And I'm really for that. So I'm really proud of our district office of employee services that is led by Athena Klein. And my branch chief is Leanne Connell, and she's doing a great job empowering us. And I also wanted to say that I am instructor of workplace violence prevention. Now you touch that you know one of the main goal is safety, and I train those classes like I talk to the people, heart to heart. And one of the exemplary leadership is encourage the heart. I think we can go good with safety if we relate with people like the director talks you're talking about. It's not even about building the bridge, it's people connection. I'm an AGPA, but I care about people. I care about their safety. With this pandemic, it's pretty intense. But you know what? We let's not mope with our emotions. We can do better. So I just wanna let you know that I applaud you for doing that. And I want to lift up the training unit in District 4 because sometimes we don't get mentioned, but we do a lot. Okay, we train 4,000 plus people in the district. Behind the scene, you guys don't know what work we do. So I just want to uplift my office for doing such a great job. And one question, I don't know if it's under Caltrans. I live here in Oakley, the levee here. I always hear the news, oh my God, it's gonna break. I don't want to get flooded. Is that with under Caltrans umbrella or is that city? Can you tell me about it? Because I'm afraid that it might just flood us with all this climate change and rising water. Please let me know. Thank you.
Mary, thank you. Thank you so much. Director Tokes, I see a smile on your face. You have a comment there for Mary?
Mary's got a lot going on.
Mary's got a lot going on.
I love Mary's passion. I like the passion that she's bringing to this. She said so many things there. She talked about people and she talked about climate change. There were several things she talked about that really caught my attention. But let me just touch on those two things just real quick in addition to what she said, because I failed to touch upon it, and that's a failure on my part. In thanking you all for the work that you've been doing for the people of the state. Not only have you done such a good job of making a shift to this new focus that we have, and we have more work to do, but you've done it in the period that is probably the toughest period in our lifetimes, in our entire lifetime. I mean, that is amazing to think about. The fact that we still performed at the level we performed at. Everybody was still somehow getting their work done in the most difficult period that we've ever been through. So much kudos. So thank you. And I believe Barry is right. She said, look, we're going through this pandemic and we're recovering from it. I mean, what better time to look out for one another than now? We should always do that anyway. I mean, that should be the standard anyway. That should be our approach as a team, to be looking out for one another. Hopefully that's something we take to heart. But the fact that we're going through this difficult period is what everybody, there's nobody on here who could say, oh, I haven't had an emotional period in the last year and a half for what we've been going through. People have been frustrated. People have been excited 1 minute because things are opening up, people are better, and then just a lot of stuff back and forth. So kudos. And on climate change, she talked about, I'm not sure exactly what a question it was about whether or not we play a role, but like I mentioned in my opening remarks, man, we're 51% of the bad air quality that's leading to the climate change challenges we have in the state. 51%. Transportation. So the more we can do to alleviate the poor air quality that's leading to all those things, the better. And I think all of you believe in that. I hope you believe in that and are working towards alleviating those challenges. So much kudos. All right, next question.
Thank you so much, Director Tokes. I'm going to go in order and take one more question before I turn it over to another partner on this team. My next question will come from Mukhtar. Mukhtar, you can go ahead and we'll unmute and ask your question, please. Mukhtar, are you there? Okay, we may go ahead and pitch it over to you, Cecilia. If you could go ahead and take it from here and see if you can get the next person. Thank you.
Good job, Deborah.
Thank you. It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
Cecilia, are you there? If not, I'll go ahead and continue.
So why don't we pivot to some of the live chat, either Andrea or Mika, if you could read a question from the chat. Thank you.
Sure, we're going to go ahead and pivot to Nicholas. We have the YouTube on fire. We have several platforms that we're using today. So we're going to go ahead and pivot to you, Nicholas. Let's go. District 4 is on fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. This is Nicholas Singh. Got a question from YouTube chat. The question is, why are we considering ending telework without requiring employees to be vaccinated?
Well, I'm not sure, Nicholas, good question. I'm not sure who asked that question, but I'm not sure where they're getting that from. We are not ending telework. Now, I will say that it is unfortunate that some people on our teams, and it's just a matter of the work that we do, a lot of people that work for David and his team, a lot of those folks don't have a telework option. There are just some responsibilities, some occupations, right? And it's pretty clear. You can't work from home. You have to be in the field to do that work. And it's just not us. You go to CHP, same way. You can't enforce the law by sitting at home. DMV, same thing. They have people who have to be in the field. So we've got a large number of those people. But overall, as a department, we are not ending telework. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but telework is here to stay. If I were to provide an estimate to you, and this is just coming from the director, I don't have any kind of scientific way to prove this, but if I were to do a rough estimate, I would say for the next 3 or 5 years, most organizations are still going to have a heavy telework presence. This is going to be a part of business for the next few years, for the foreseeable future. Now, is there a point beyond the next 3 or 5 years where that could significantly dial back? It's possible. But for now, the telework's not going anywhere. Now, ultimately, the managers and the supervisors that are all over Caltrans that help supervise the 23,000 people that work for this department are going to have to figure out what is the appropriate telework level for their staff. If you're qualified for telework. Again, not everybody is qualified for telework, but if you are, supervisor and the manager's responsibility is going to be to determine what's the appropriate level. 3 days, full telework, you don't have to come in at all. All those things need to be worked out at a more refined level. But to say telework is being canceled, not the case. And whether or not everybody in the state workforce is going to be vaccinated, required to be vaccinated, that is above my pay grade. You rarely hear me say that, but that is not something that I have a say in determining. I'm not a health professional. I can't tell you when and if everybody that works for state government should absolutely be vaccinated. I just can't. But we're not ending telework. So good point.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicholas.
I have another question if we have time.
Sure. Yeah. Whenever
Certainly.
Dina tells me I can, whenever she tells me I need to be quiet, then I'll be quiet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Make it happen, boss.
The EAP program is good. It's great. Unfortunately, there was a reduction or elimination for services provided for supervisors in terms of free consultations. Do you know why, and do you think that could be brought back?
Ask the question one more time, Nicholas. Maybe Dina or somebody from the team understood it better, and they may be able to answer it. But say it one more time.
The EAP sessions offered to supervisors were cut.
Hmm.
Do you know why, and do you think they could be brought back?
That's a good question. I don't know anything about that. Dina, do you know about EAP and why we may have cut something?
I am not aware of the cuts in the ELP program, but maybe Athena is. But certainly it has been a very helpful program on so many levels to so many people. Athena, are you aware of any cuts that happened in the ELP program?
Dina and team, I am not. Usually the employee would get 3 days of counseling sessions, or I believe you get so many text message sessions, or a manager can refer an employee and get, I believe it's 8 sessions. I will double check and I will send a district-wide email out if anything has changed, but I have not heard of any changes in EAP.
Thank you, Athena. And just I want to make sure that everyone on this call knows that we are capturing the questions that are coming in, and we are going to be posting all the answers to these questions. So Athena will probably provide you with more information. I don't know who asked that question, but we'll make sure that it's answered and posted on our website. Next question, please.
Okay, the last question I received is, we have a gap in providing essential services to the public because purchasing and contract approval through DPAC, DGS is cumbersome. This creates a long delay or lapse in services to the public. How can we bridge this gap with an interim way of providing service for the duration of the delay?
One more time, Nicholas. That was a long one. One more time.
Sorry. The question essentially is, it takes a long time for us to get service contracts to do cleanups for, let's say, encampments or provide other services. The procurement process is cumbersome. Is there a way that we can improve it or speed it up, or are there interim solutions?
So I love questions like this because it's getting at how do we create a solution for something. David and Athena, it's probably a little bit of both in their areas because David's team's got to do the work, but Athena's team's probably got to do the involved somehow in the contracts. But I've said repeatedly, and I know a lot of you buy into this as well, the more efficient we are, the better we are at delivering for people. One thing that if I had one major frustration that I always point out about government is we love red tape. I mean, the longer the process, the better. We just want to, yeah, then it's got to go to this person, and then it's got to go to this person, and then they got to sign, and then they got to sign, and it's just on and on and on. Instead of like, okay, 2 people need to review this, and it goes out. Let's go do the work. You know, how to get to a place where we can make decisions like that is where I would love to get to. But look, I understand all the legal stuff, and the lawyers got to look at it, and they got to start. Like we're trying to get something done. Let's get to it. Why we struggle with that, but that's a part of government. So I think the question was about service order contract specifically. David or Athena, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but I don't know if you have anything else to add other than my rant and complaint there.
Well, I can comment. You know, we've had a number of conversations with David Prismich, the head of DPAC, and they are constantly reviewing their processes and trying to get better. I believe they went through a Lean Six Sigma process at one point to try and tighten things up. But it is an ongoing conversation. And, you know, Leah, for our deputy for maintenance, she's been dealing with this now for a while too. And I don't know, Leah, if you're seeing any changes happening, or if you want to make a comment as well.
Very slow progress. Very interested in coming to the table. Solutions, we're light on the solutions. But I'm hopeful. I think we have things to get their attention, and as Director Omashakin mentioned, there are so many people involved, from legal to those looking at what the actual process needs to the letter of the law. I think we have some push points though. The service contracts for unsheltered or encampment cleanups is huge and a huge demand, and I hope that we get their attention. Right now, we are at a tipping point. We have some solutions to propose, so I always like to go to the table with something in mind of what we want, but it may come back your way for your visibility, right? But we do have some things in the works. Thank you.
And if I can just add, we IT has streamlined IT purchases, which to make it a little bit easier statewide for purchases. So if we can do more streamlined purchases, I think it would help us out if there's any opportunity to do that.
Thank you, Adina. Right now, we're just going to go ahead and pivot throughout the chat. I mean, some folks' mics are not working or there's some accessibility issues. So we're going to go ahead and read it. We see you, District 4. We got a question from Whitney Lawrence. With increasing funding, what are we doing to attract new qualified candidates? Dina, Director, anyone who want to take a nab at that?
One more time.
With increasing funding, what are we doing to attract new qualified candidates? And that question is lifted up by Whitney Lawrence.
I can speak, Director, to some of our local efforts, and if you would like, you can speak to the statewide efforts as well.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Whitney, this is a great question and definitely a timely one. I think, you know, we are in a great rush to compete to hire as many people as we can. And this is a statewide issue that, you know, we're all trying to recruit at the same time with a limited number of qualified pool of applicants. So it's one of the things that the department is really focusing on. Here in District 4, we're also trying to concentrate this effort locally in District 4 as far as hiring. And there's a good reason for that. As you all know, we have a very high cost of living in this district. And hiring locally is something that would ensure to some extent that we're going to have a higher retention rate. So to this effort, we have gone out with some mass hiring events, mostly focused on maintenance recruitments at this point in time. There are other events that are in the planning for other classification as well. We've had a mass hiring event in Laney College in Oakland. And again, also we're trying to do this as equitably as possible and reach out in communities that traditionally we haven't got a large number of recruits from. So we did have one hiring session in Oakland. We had another successful one also in San Jose. And now we are looking at mass hiring events for other classification, engineering planners, environmental scientists, and environmental planners as well, and other classification. And I'll stop here and maybe give the director an opportunity to talk about other statewide efforts.
Yeah, it's a very important question because we have to continue to be looking to be competitive with the private market and city and counties as they hire people who do the work that we do. It's challenging though. And part of that challenge for us is, and everybody's going to say, oh, absolutely, amen to that, is our pay scale. Local governments are more competitive. Cities and counties, they are more competitive when it comes to pay than we are. And they do a better job of, bringing in and taking on some of the talent that we want to bring on to our department than we can. But I think one thing that we have an edge over than some of those other places, whether it be private sector or local government, one thing that we have going in our favor, in our advantage, is that we are redefining what our work means. And there's nowhere you're going to go in government in the state of California that you're going to have a bigger impact on people's lives than working in this department. There's nowhere else you're going to go. I said, Caltrans is the place that has that impact, that has that influence over so many things. I mean, so many people's lives in this state. So there's no other entity that can lay claim to that like we can. If you need to get anywhere in the state, at some point, you're going to need transportation. At some point. And that's what we do. We provide mobile, safe, efficient, and cleaner and more equitable options for people and goods to be able to get to destination. That's what we're about. So as we continue to define that, what we stand for, and people look for meaning for their work, I think we'll do a better job of attracting them. Not that it doesn't mean that we don't need to pay better. We can always continue to work on that. That's always an issue. So, good question.
Thank you, Director. We'll go next. I see a question in the chat from Philip Craig. How is Caltrans acknowledging superior performance by lower level employees?
That's a good question. Superior performance by lower level employees. By continuing to thank them and congratulate them for superior performance. I don't know. Dina or Athena, anybody got thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a number of ways to recognize the performance of lower level employees. And you know, we may not have the luxury as other organizations, maybe in private sector, that are able to give monetary recognition. But we do have some programs within the department that allows us at least to give the Superior Accomplishment Awards. So you can nominate some of your employees for that. Also, you know, we became more and more creative as far as recognition, and different people likes to be recognized in different ways too. We have to keep that in mind. Some people like to be recognized in a big forum like what we have today. And speaking to their accomplishments, some people are very private when it comes to recognition and would prefer just a thank you email or a thank you letter. We've been receiving recognition, believe it or not, from the public on a lot of occasions. I think we received recognitions recently from a couple of members of the public acknowledging some of our cleanups in the East Bay. So recognition comes in different forms. As a department, we do have one of the tools that we have in our toolboxes, of course, is the Superior Accomplishment Awards or the Sustainable Superior Accomplishment. So these are some of the items that you can consider maybe in rewarding some of your staff. And I'd be happy if Athena has anything else that you would like to add, or anybody else for that matter, on how you reward your lower level staffs as well.
I was just going to mention that any staff can nominate someone else. It doesn't matter what level you're at. So please keep that in mind. If you have someone that you want to nominate, please take that extra time and nominate. Renee Espana can help you with that, or you can send it to me. But recognition is great. So please look at those links, and I will also send it out district-wide today.
Thank you, Athena. We're going to take one last question from the chat, and we're going to go funnel back to the Ask Dina. There were some questions sent to Ask Dina. We have a question from Denise. With the many outbreaks of COVID-19 within District 4, will the state establish paid time off for mandatory quarantine instead of employees using their earned sick time?
Because of COVID, should people not be allowed to use sick time? Explain it one more time. Go one more time on the question.
With the many outbreaks of COVID-19 within District 4, will the state establish paid time off for mandatory quarantine instead of employees using their earned sick leave?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. That's a really good question. That's a bigger, more HR related question. David, did you have some thoughts on that or something?
Well, yeah, I just happened to be talking to Athena recently about this, so I was thinking she probably could add to this question.
I can. Actually, for paid time off, Caltrans has been very, very generous in allowing employees to telework and quarantine at the same time. We also have telework packets that you can complete if you don't have the option to telework from a computer. Currently, there is no paid sick leave for COVID, but the legislature and governor did reach an agreement on potential framework. It has not passed yet, so as soon as it passes, headquarters will be sure to share the guidance with us.
Great. Thank you, Athena. Appreciate the
You're
answer,
welcome.
and Director Tokes. So let's go ahead and move on to some of these questions that were submitted to ask Dina. The first comes from the Administration Division. Caltrans has crafted a strong strategic plan for 2020 through 2024, and so is District 4. In terms of District 4's strategic action plan priority of developing and retaining an engaged and empowered team, what innovative and/or creative solutions have senior leaders been working on to ensure that Caltrans offerings can attract and retain talent, especially for the most challenging to fill positions? And that's a long one. We'll go ahead and, if you don't mind, Director Tokes, we will refer to you first, and then maybe Dina would like to add something to that.
I want Dina to go first.
And Dina, I'd be happy to read it again. It's a long one.
No, I think I get the gist of the question, and it is an excellent question. I mean, I think the person that asked this question, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name, really is looking at what is our succession planning in this district, and how are we going to be able to keep up with the empowerment and engagement of our workforce, and continually develop our workforce to the standard that we want them to be. And District 4 has been really progressive in some areas that, when we developed our strategic action plan, and this was done starting a couple of years ago and was finalized last year, one of the initiatives that our strategic action plan really came up with was exactly that, and it's I believe it was initiative number 3, and I'm trying to remember, develop and retain and engage an empowered workforce. And they've identified a few items that can be done in this space that can help us with that. So improving, for example, succession planning through training, mentoring programs, and then another one that, enhancing more our recruitment process, so that we are going out and reaching out in universities and in high schools and potentially recruit the best that are out there, and also recruit locally, as I was mentioning earlier, but also driving a culture shift by expanding our leadership training. And, there's a number of programs that are happening on the state wide level. Another area that was also focused under that initiative is expanding our employee rotation program. And this is something that our strategic action plan team that's working on the implementation is looking into. How do we expand our rotation program in District 4 so it doesn't only encompass engineers as it traditionally did, and not only the engineers that are coming into the organization that are new, but more seasoned engineers also that are trying to rotate or expand their opportunity for upward mobility. But it also, one of the purposes of that team is looking into expanding the rotation for non-engineering classifications as well. This organization, although it's heavy on engineers, we've got a lot of other classifications that we need to develop for upward mobility. And then, one of the other initiatives or sub-initiatives under that was to implement new employee rotation program, and also enhance the support system for supervisor. One of our teams came up with an incredibly beautiful idea, the SoupNet. And I don't know, it has not launched yet district-wide, although we've been advertising for it, but we're still working through all the details of that. And the SoupNet is the purpose of the I don't know if we call it a platform or program, is basically to provide a space for supervisors to exchange ideas and to kind of coach and mentor each other as they go through situations that requires other people's input and maybe some of the lessons learned for others. So our team put together this really nice forum, and we have vetted it also with our HR group and our legal group. We are trying to get it to the point where it could launch. And I think it will probably be one of the most useful platforms for people exchanging ideas and mentoring and coaching each other within the district. So I know Linka has taken a big interest in that. Feel free to jump in and add anything that I may have missed, but there's a lot that's going on in this area, and District 4 in particular, our strategic action plan really is focusing on that, and our teams are working on different initiatives.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It has been launched, the SupNet, and so we're very excited because we're actually implementing what we wanted to do and improve, and it was a great exchange. We will keep that going. So I think more and more supervisors will be joining. And it seems like a forum with more unstructured. It's kind of nicer. People feel more relaxed, and it should be more, more like fun. And so we're very excited. And there's going to be another meeting scheduled, I think monthly. Wahida Rashid is the leader on this, and she's doing fabulous job. And so it's just been really great. So we're very proud of our team. So.
And thank you for that, Linka. I want to take this opportunity, since this was brought up, to remind everyone that strategic action plan teams are still looking for volunteers and recruits. So we've had an all staff meeting regarding this item where they had updated you on all the different initiatives that they're working on. But if you're interested in volunteering for any of these initiatives, there's still a lot of room for additional volunteers. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Linka, Dina, and Director Tokes. So let's move on. We have another question from our Ask Dina email. This one comes from construction. Why do our mission statements seem to avoid specifically saying anything about eliminating traffic congestion? I think voters who supported SB1 and local measure funding really want relief from traffic congestion. And I see you smiling there, Director Tokes. Would you like to take this one?
No, I love questions like this because you can get into a major philosophical debate about it. So I don't believe that's intentional. I think that person may have caught on to something there, but I don't think there is any intentionality on our part. And I don't want that person who asked the question to mix up SB1's purpose, because that person referred to SB1 specifically. SB1 was mainly focused on becoming a more fix-it-first program. Not that it doesn't address other issues, but it was more focused on maintenance needs. The capacity addition needs that they focused on were really sort of geared towards issues like trade corridors and transit. But overall, it was really more focused on maintenance activity. So bridges, culverts, pavement, asphalt, getting those into better condition. And where the capacity expansion existed in the SB1, it was more like on transit and investing in bike pay and active transportation. So don't get those mixed up. But the philosophical part of this, just to get to that real quick, is that some people believe that we can solve congestion. Some people believe we can solve congestion. I'm one of those people that thinks we can't. I believe we can manage congestion, improve congestion, but we can't solve it. If you solve congestion, that means your entire economy almost essentially is shut down. So when was the last time that we saw when traffic didn't exist on the major highways and freeways throughout the state? When was this? When there was no traffic? During the pandemic, right? No traffic. That essentially means everybody went to telework mode, or they weren't working. Almost the entire economy came to a screeching halt. We can't solve congestion. We can't get rid of congestion, but we can manage it and we can improve it. And I think the more we provide different modes of transportation for people, provide different choices for goods to be able to move about, the better we're able to manage and improve congestion. But we can't solve it. We can't eliminate congestion. That's a philosophical opinion, but that's just my take. But SB1, by the way, SB1 was not about taking congestion away or eliminating congestion. That's not what the funding program is about. Good question.
Great, thank you. And let's go ahead and take one more question from Ask Dina. This one too is from construction. I am a senior in construction and a topic has been floating around for a while. Are there any plans to consider a deep class or a range E status for resident engineers? They have to be licensed by default, but they have a level of responsibility that other range D staff may not have. If this is not being discussed yet, can we start considering it? And Linka, would you like to go ahead and step in first on this one?
Yes, I would love to.
Thank
It's
you.
definitely being discussed. And we are taking it to a little bit higher level. I am actually taking a little lead. I'm working with the deputies to come up with, first of all, what is actually the problem? So we really need to define what the problem is. And then the plan is to work with our deputies in the district and come up with a recommendation to Dave and Dina, looking at some options, how we can solve the problem. And I would like to ask PEs, project engineers, and REs, and as well as others, range Ds, to help us to say what the problem is. There are many ways how you can say things, but really the clarity, what we're trying to solve is really, really important. So I'm inviting you to send me a suggestion how we should basically clarify what the problem is. And then I can assure you, I'll be working tirelessly, try to get to solution.
I would also add to what Linka said that this is not a new issue that has been brought up. It has been brought up consistently, at least over my 20 years with the department. Yeah, as Linka mentioned, I think that any solution that we're looking at or any proposal needs to be a statewide proposal. There's a lot of other parties that need to be a part of this discussions, labor unions, for example. There's a lot of other facets to it, not just a decision that's made internally within Caltrans. I understand that the person asking the question, with additional responsibility, there should be an opportunity for additional compensation or at least a different classification. So as Linka mentioned, something that she and her team is working on putting something together to further explore.
Yeah, Dina, I was just going to comment too, just to break it down for those that maybe don't know. We're talking about REs and PEs at the moment because they have a high level of responsibility considering their classification. You could be in that classification and have a job that requires less responsibility. And so that's kind of what we're talking about from a basic point of view.
Great. Thank you, Linka, Dina, and Dave. So I see that there are multiple hands raised. We're going to go ahead and transition over back to Deborah, to the live chat. Deborah?
Thank you, Mika. We want to thank you for your patience in the live chat and call on you, Jasminda Webb. We're going to unmute you and go ahead and pose your question. Thank you.
I'm new to the D4 family, so I'm an AGPA from Cultural. I want to thank you for the opportunity. I come from the outside world, PG&E being one of them. Since I'm on the platform, I do have a question. How can someone like myself get trained in leadership or mentorship that wants to step into a leadership role? Being that I'm new with the district, how can someone like myself get into more of management position versus not being seasoned, if I should say that better, not being seasoned and having years of service, only 1 year of service. How can someone like myself with experience from outside become management? Thank you.
Yeah, I'd recommend Athena probably give you a more detailed response on this, but my quick response to you is she may be able to provide some more detail. It's an important question as well, is to try to think about what that career path is for you. Like, what are things you want to do more? Where do you want to end up? What are the things you want to have an impact in and grow in? And as you think about that, see what that path possibly looks like, and start to think about training opportunities or meeting opportunities to go to learn about those things and eventually apply for those opportunities to be able to move up. But you know, one of the things that I get reminded of all the time when I think about my future, my own career, and you're probably thinking, well, you're at the top of the department. What are you thinking about? Something like that. But I do. I think about my future is not necessarily who or what job I want to end up in, but what I want to have an impact in. So you're not thinking about like a particular position. Don't focus so much on the position. Focus on what you want to have an impact in. And so spend a lot of your energy and time thinking, okay, what do I want to do? Like, where do I want to make a difference? Where do I want to have an impact? Forget about the position. That will come as you continue to grow your knowledge and training and experience on the places where you want to end up. So focus on what you want to do, not what the position exactly is. So, but Athena, I don't know if you have any ideas on the actual process you have to go through to move up.
I do, and when someone talks about leadership, I get so excited. There is a class you can sign up for now if it's available. It's called Essentials for Excellence. It's one of the first processes in that leadership realm. You also have free access to LinkedIn Learning, which has a lot of leadership opportunities for you. CalHR is also one of our partners that we do training with. I wrote some stuff down here. We also are creating a District 4 mentorship program, and we also have a statewide Caltrans mentorship program that you can sign up for. Leanne Cannell in our training office can also provide you with additional resources, but those are the ones that come off the top of my head.
Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Before, sorry, Deborah, to talk over you. I just would like to add one more program that also the Upward Mobility Program, which is really open to admin classification, maintenance classification. So I think this is a very good program for a lot of our non-engineers to take advantage of. So please consider that. And then one more thing I want to add, Jasmine. I think something really critical for career development for everybody that's listening. You know, one of the things that's very helpful is actually asking people in your command or in your classification to also mentor you, people that you respect and people that you look up to. I think I found this to be one of the best tools. And I'll tell you, in my 24 years in the department, I hardly ever got turned down when I asked for mentorship. So feel free to knock on people's door. And if you see somebody that's doing something that you think they're exceptional at, you know, reaching out to them and saying, would you help me, you know, get to where you're at, or would you help me with this particular item on how to do it better? I think this is also one of the tools that you should always consider.
Yeah, that's a before we move on, that's a very good point that Dina just made about mentorship and being able to connect with people and reach out to people and just ask for help. I mean, there's not a lot of people that you're going to knock on their door, turn to them, or send them a text or an email, and they're going to be like, I don't have time for that. People will take the time. Even as hectic as my schedule is, I find time to make sure that I connect with people and do that. But I'll caution you, and I've mentioned this in a different platform and a different setting before, a mentorship doesn't always come from people in positions, even though that's important. If you're trying to get to a particular spot and that person is up there, to spend the time to engage them and say, okay, how'd you do this? How'd you do it? But it's not just about that. One of the best mentors that I've had, believe it or not, in talking to me about what I need to do was a security guard. I'll say it again, it's a security guard. Before I got to this job, I was deputy director of the Department of Transportation in Tennessee. There was a guy named Mr. Wade Nelson. Mr. Wade Nelson. He's one of those people that when you walk in the building as a security guard, he's the life of the building. He's excited and pumped up and, hey, Mr. Thomas, what's going on? He's one of those people, just overly joyful about everything. Never see him having a bad day. He loved to run into people like that. And he could tell one day, and this was a while ago, it's probably about 6 or 7 years ago. He saw me, he said, looked like you got a lot on your mind as I was walking in the building. I said, yeah, it's been a stressful day. I've got this big speech coming up. I'm nervous about it. I don't know what to do. Da, da, da. He said, come here, let me talk to you. He pulled me away from the security staff as when you walk in the building. And he said, so it's a big speech. How many people? I said, man, it's over 1,000 people. It's a big audience. He said, look, this is when we still met in person. He said, you know, one thing you got to do, just keep in mind, whenever you have a speech like that to give, take your time. I was like, what? What do you think? I said, take your time. And this man's a security guard. He said, you are the expert. People want to hear from you. There's no need to be rushing. Take your time. You got it. That speech from when he told me that, those comments, from then on, when I walked in the building, if I came in the building that particular way, I got to go see Mr. Wade. I got to go holler at Mr. Wade and see what Mr. Wade's up to. And he always had some kind of word of counsel, a word of advice, whatever it was. So he may have been 20 years older than me, but and he had a lower position than me, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't as wise as me or wiser than I was. So take the time, regardless of where people are in position, spend the time to try to learn and get mentorship wherever you can.
Thank you. Those were wonderful responses, and I would like to just take a quick opportunity to encourage you to take advantage of those, Jasminda, and let you know that I have also been an AGPA. A couple of the managers that I now manage were AGPAs, so advanced opportunities are definitely available. I have personally found District 4 to be a wonderful bed to provide opportunities of mentorship, and you have been given outstanding advice from leadership. And end on a note of telling you and anyone else here listening that you know how to find me, and I know that other managers in external affairs, I can speak for us with confidence, are here for you. Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and go to another question. It'll be from Ross Cush. You are next in line, Ross. We'll go ahead and unmute you and ask your question, please.
Good afternoon. As I drive around, going to Costco, going to work, we have a severe homeless problem where, you know, I look around, it's like a third world country in some places. I was wondering if Caltrans could work with some kind of agency to put some of those people in some kind of employment. You know, we have like bad roads full of trash, overgrown bushes. Maybe we could transition some of those people from under the bridge into doing something for themselves. Me as a person, I got a great job, so I'm happy. You know, I'm not looking to move anywhere. I got a good boss and a good deputy director, so I don't have any problem. But I see those homeless people and I feel so sad inside.
Yeah. What was the gentleman's name who asked the question? Sorry.
I'm Ross Cush. I met you at the building one day. You were coming in.
Oh, really? And D4?
Yeah, and we were talking about Fela.
I can't remember, but I'm excited just to hear your voice though. I can't remember. I bet if I saw you, I would remember. I bet if I saw you, I would remember. Let me try to answer your question real quick. It's a big issue. It's a tremendous issue. It's probably outside of COVID, to me, that is the largest challenge that this state has. That's the biggest challenge we have. There are more people homeless in California than in Texas and New York combined. More than 160,000 people are homeless in the state. The Bay Area and the LA region have a majority of that 160,000, and that's a conservative estimate. Some people believe it's north of 200,000 people. That's a huge issue. Now, what do you got to do about it? You got to put resources towards it. Resources and policy to help you address the issue. From a resource standpoint, Governor Newsom is putting more money towards homelessness than the entire United States, the entire country. 12 billion last year, 2 billion being proposed this year. More than the whole United States is putting towards homelessness. But it's got to be practical beyond just money. It's got to get into a place where people can start to see the difference. You mentioned litter and trash. If you don't know about Clean California, if anybody's on that's not aware about Clean California, look up Clean California. Caltrans is leading the way on that initiative to make our streets and our highways cleaner, pick up litter and to beautify them, make them more accessible. But on the homelessness issue, we've got to do more than just build housing. Housing is a big part of the issue. Housing is expensive in the Bay Area, in the B4 area, as all of you know already. You know more than I do. But we got to build houses, but we've got to get people jobs, and we've got to get people health care. Those two go hand in hand. So it's a total a total safety net that we have to provide for people who are experiencing homelessness. It's just not about being able to say, oh, they got a home, they're good. They have to have an occupation, something that they go into every day. And in some cases, some people need social service and healthcare, mental health care as well. So it's a holistic issue, and it's not a Caltrans issue alone. You see it because it's on our right of way, and everybody looks to us and says, oh, Caltrans need to solve that problem. No, it's all of us, local government, federal, state. Everybody's got a role to play in addressing the homelessness issue. One of the starts is building more homes, affordable homes, providing temporary shelter. But it's a bigger issue than just that shelter. Hopefully that answers that question a little bit. The resources are finally coming through to help us get there in the billions. Right.
I can join in too on that, Director.
Yeah.
Going back now several years ago, we worked with Operation Dignity in Oakland to try and create SAM positions, which now we are seeing a lot more of, to get people to start working. And around the state in different districts as well as ours, we've also worked with Goodwill and other companies that, you know, I used to think of Goodwill as a place where you drop off your clothes, or, you know, they had a store, they would sell clothes, things of that nature. They are actually a training facility, and they put people to work. So we started working with them as well. And all of these opportunities are really to not only help the homeless, but people that are looking for a second chance, the youth that are looking for work. So there's a lot of opportunities that Caltrans is exploring, and, you know, we'll continue that. I don't know, Leah, if you wanted to specifically comment about any of the maintenance work that provides opportunities as well.
We do. I think we talked about it earlier about the challenge of hiring and finding candidates for our positions and the struggles of Bay Area, the high cost of living versus the wages that government employees make. I think the SAMS positions, we're seeing them as a great way to have homegrown talent, right? They come in at very entry level, bare minimum, and we're able to mold them. It's a great jumping off point. Some of the challenges that we've had and that we're pivoting to is making sure that we meet them where they are. That's why we're so much looking on and relying on the relationships with Goodwill and other outreach groups, as well as even thinking about going to community colleges. And I think one of my challenges is getting the call out to everyone who has ears that we're looking for SAMs. We need SAMs. We need a new, an infusion of new, excited employees, people that want to work with us, who see the value and see what their good work, the fruit of their labors are directly, especially in maintenance. It's a very much, you're very close to your work. You get to see the impact almost immediately of what you contribute. So it's a challenge. So I'm glad that there are how many? 859 people still on this call. So SAMs are a service assistant maintenance. It's a position, entry level, and we are actively hiring. District 4 really is looking for these type of employees to, be a new lifeblood in the maintenance classifications. I could go on and on. We're looking for faith-based groups, anybody who's willing to lean in. And I think earlier we talked about the unsheltered. That is a huge challenge, but you'll see that it's a place where we are really coming together. External affairs and maintenance, we've really been working hard together to find solutions, working with our outreach partners. And I find that it is gratifying in that even though it's such a large challenge, we're really coming together and thinking outside of the box and doing our part. Like, as we know, social services in the cities and counties have resources that I'm so happy to hear that they'll get an infusion, but we will have some ideas on ways that they could, steer those resources. So, and we've been doing that. I don't know. Like I said, I could go on and on, but I think I'm going to stop. So Sam.
So I want to say, just speaking of maintenance, I haven't heard enough from our maintenance staff. So if we can take some questions from maintenance, I'd really appreciate that.
Please.
Anybody want to put their hands up from our maintenance staff that would like to ask a question?
I will say, we have answered a couple of questions from maintenance, and we do have a couple more planned. So if they're being asked, so it looks like maybe Deborah has one more question, but we will definitely get to some more maintenance questions, Dina.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add, considering that encampments are my wheelhouse, I do want everyone to know here that in the collaborations that we hold with all cities in the 9 Bay Area counties, that Cheryl and myself, when we speak with city managers and the directors of the various counties for continuum of care, we are making it known that Caltrans is looking for opportunities to employ persons experiencing homelessness. So that's another reach that we do in terms of proactive assistance. So I want you to know that, Mr. Cush and others who are wondering. And so we're going to take the next question. We thank you for continuing to raise your hand. It'll be from you, Tony. Paul, we're going to go ahead and unmute you and ask your question. And if you could let us know which division you are from. Thank you.
Transportation Division in Hayward Construction Office. I have a question. We have a rotation program, which is very good, and we're getting a new rotation engineers. But I was thinking if our goals is modality and increasing that initiative in our highways, why can't we have rotation including high-speed rail too? So we can, learn from it, since we're encouraging modality to reduce energy and to reduce pollution and congestion, as somebody else also asked that question. So if we combine all that, if we have a rotation even 3 months or 6 months with high-speed rail, and they do the same with us, that will be beneficial for all engineers and for the public needs. Thank you.
Yeah, that's another really good question. I'll answer that, and then I'm gonna run after this. I just got tagged that I need to get ready for my 3 o'clock 3 o'clock meeting, so I'm gonna have to run. But I'll answer the question and then make a broader statement. I'll run. The modality issue that we need to continue to address, the benefits of that, the impacts, clearly safety, climate, like you mentioned. There's so many benefits that we get from becoming more modal, more multimodal. You mentioned specifically high-speed rail. High-speed rail is interesting because it's a I don't want to call it a quasi-government, but there's most of the staff that work on the high-speed rail project, a majority of them are not actually state employees. They're not under the state umbrella. They've got a lot of majority of the people working on it are working directly with consultants. So they're not going to be a lot of, it's nowhere near the size of like the state employees. It's nowhere near the size of like a Caltrans. It's not like a comparable thing. Like they got 5,000 or 10,000 people. It's not even anywhere close to that. So we're not going to be able to send like 50 or 100 people over to high-speed rail to go do it. But there should be some opportunities for that though. There should be some, like a few opportunities here and there, for half a dozen people or so to go to high-speed rail and do an exchange and back and forth. So something we should look into. I know the goal is at some point for the high-speed rail to get up to the Bay Area and to get all the way down to LA and San Diego. Even though we're a long ways away from it, we got to get the Central Valley connected first, and then eventually Bay Area and down to San Diego. So, but it's a good idea just to go there and learn more about the rail side of our business. But there are other places as well, like Caltrain and other organizations that do a lot of rail work that we can go to. So let me just make a broader comment and then I'll run. This is a truly unprecedented time for us in transportation. We have a big opportunity in front of us. We've gone through a lot of turmoil, all of us in our private lives, professional lives, over the last 2 years. But I've only been in the transportation business roughly 22 years. I've never seen a period like this before, where we have this much potential from a resources standpoint and from a policy standpoint. A majority of the direction that we want to head in, the things that we want to get done, the policy decisions, both at the federal level and the state level and the local level, those policies are finally being put in place. They're coming around. There's a lot, if you want to find out more about the policies I'm signing, reach out to our chief of staff. The department's doing more and more policies to head in the direction we want to head in on issues around climate change, around equity, and around safety, increasingly. So not only policy, we now have money. We now have money. Somebody complained or mentioned earlier that we don't have enough money to address COVID. That's something we need to pay attention to, because SB1, we have COVID goals that we need to reach. The governor has proposed $9.1 billion in his budget for this year for transportation. From the federal government level, we're going to be getting over a 5-year period more than $25 billion for highways. $25 billion. They're going to be getting almost 10 billion for transit in California alone. Whereas before for highways, we got roughly 19 billion. Now we're going to be getting 25 billion. So significant increases in all areas, addressing climate issues, safety issues, all that. So we need to take advantage of this window, of this moment, to truly create and build the communities that we want to see for us today and for the future generations to come. It's an unprecedented time. We can focus on equity, all those things, and deliver with true and really good transportation projects. So I'm honored at the opportunity I've had to serve with you. And there's so much more to be done. So thank you again. Dina, appreciate your leadership and before you and the team. Thanks for everything that you guys have been doing and leading the state and being innovative in the state. Thanks a lot. I know your challenges are not few, but you guys have been shining through. So really appreciate you and everything that you're doing to lead us in California City. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director. And I want to say thank you for giving us the time. And I know we had you for only an hour and you were kind enough to extend that for another half an hour or more. So we really appreciate you joining us today. And thank you for your leadership for the department. We look forward to your leadership and working and transitioning more into the 2022 goals. So lots to work on, as you said. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. See you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you so much. And so right now, at this point, I'm going to kick it back over to you, Andrea, and move along with the program.
Thank you, Deborah. We're right at 7 minutes, so we're moving right on time. We got a room for about 2 more questions from Ask Dina, and then we'll go into acknowledgments and closing remarks. Question from District 4 Maintenance. With the potential for return to office, I'd like to know if the HVAC system has been upgraded with HEPA filters and outside air circulation to trap and minimize COVID-19 contagions. Air filters change regularly. What else can be done with the HVAC system to maximize clean air? And that question looks like it's pivoted to Athena.
It is. Thank you so much. So in reference to the district ventilation system in the building, we do have 2 air handling units and filters that are replaced every 6 months as needed, depending on the outside conditions. The AC1 filters were replaced November 20th, 2021, and the AC2 filters are scheduled to be placed in February. We're also using the MERV 14 filters, which is the highest we can use in our system, and more efficient filters cause higher pressure drops. We need to ensure that we maintain enough airflow within the building, and ASHRAE provides many guidelines to help prevent the airborne transmission of COVID-19, including the recommendation to use air filters with the last MERV 13 rating. MERV 14 is the highest rated filter we can use. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Athena. So we do use outside air. It's drawn into our system. It's run through our a filter system that's higher than required, that does, meet the standards we're looking for. The only times we have to turn down the outside air flow are in times when we've had, like you recall, the fires and all the smoke, because we don't want to draw that into the building. But for the most part, we're using outside air, running it through a filter system, and they are changed regularly.
And I can just add one more thing. Damien and his team with facilities is always looking at ways to keep us safe. So if anything comes out that we can use in addition to the highest rated, the MERV 14, we will be sure to try to implement that.
Dave, Athena, thank you. We're going to go ahead and take one last question from the Ask Dina, and I'm going to go ahead and at that point pivot to Dave for acknowledgments. The last question of the day would speak from District 4 External Affairs. Is there a stipend in place for telework staff, i.e. reimbursement for supplies, etc.? And Athena, I think that's back to you.
It is. They have been having conversations regarding the stipend. I know DGS mentioned a stipend within their draft telework plan. The department has not made a decision on a stipend or the stipend cost. I'm sure that once our permanent telework documents come out, something will be mentioned within a stipend and the cost if that is something the department's going to implement.
Thank you, Athena. Would anyone else like to elaborate? I think you said it all, Athena. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
District 4, you guys have been on fire and have submitted phenomenal questions via the chat, WebEx, YouTube. You've been all over the place. I applaud you all for being able to speak up and speak out and raise these questions. At this time, I'm going to pivot back over to Dave. Dave, I'm going to have you go ahead and to read out our acknowledgements regarding the town hall, and then from there, we'll go into closing remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, before I start, I do want to say we're going to try to capture all of the questions in the chat, get answers to those, and post it on our homepage, District 4 homepage. So look for that here in the near future. Thank you, Mika and Andrea, and thank you to all the participants that submitted questions to our town hall today. Communication and dialogue are an important element in the continuous improvement process. And this forum provides us an opportunity to hear your voice. As indicated in the beginning of this town hall, any questions that were unanswered, again, we're going to post those. As we begin to wrap things up, I'd like to take a moment to recognize all those that helped put this event together. In AV, we have Marissa Mijares Perez, Bill Hall, Charlotte Milone, and Philip Anderson. IT with Kim Jenkins and Tam Fan. External Affairs, Bart Ney, Nicholas Singh, and Deborah Nelson. Our acting chief liaison, Cecilia Gutierrez. Showrunners, Andrea Pugh and Mika Wagner. And of course, our deputy director for External Affairs, Cheryl Chambers. I want to thank all of them for putting this on. And now I want to pass it over to Dina for some closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Dave. And I want to thank everyone that has participated in our meeting today. I'm really thrilled to see such a high number of attendance. And I know that some people may be gathered in some conference rooms, also in our maintenance stations and other locations where they're watching and participating. I think you heard from the director the priorities, and you heard how exciting of a time it is. And I have to keep on emphasizing that, with our foundational principles of safety, climate action, and equity, it's really important that we continue to see everything that we do through those lenses. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being a part of this. Your voice is very important to us. So keep your questions coming, keep your comments coming. I do get once in a while when I send out our weekly updates, I do get questions from staff. I always answer those. If I've missed anything, I apologize. Make sure you lift it to me again. But I also want to reiterate what Dave said regarding responding to all questions. I want to own something. In our last meeting, we had lost some of the questions that were in the chat. We were still experimenting with WebEx, and we closed the meeting without saving the chat, and we're not able to get some of those questions. So if we missed your question last time, it was not done deliberately, I promise you. So forgive us for that. This time we have learned our lesson, and we are going to make sure we are capturing everything that's on the chat. We're also capturing things that are coming into the YouTube, and we'll make sure that all these questions are addressed and are posted on our website. Thank you, District 4. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
Remember, deputies, just leave the meeting. Don't end the meeting.
I was able to save the chat, so have it up to 3 p.m.
Okay, cool. So Tam, we'll count on you to save everything. Cecilia, if you're recording, I think, do we need to keep recording? Cool. Well done, team.
Anybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Now we can.
Oh, now we can hear you, Cecilia.
Now we can.
I'm gonna pop down and see you guys on. I can talk for a couple of minutes. I got a 3:15. All right.
The chat. I've got all the questions in the chat. Well, maybe not the last one. Looks like someone threw one in there at 3:01. But I got all those captured.
Okay.
But so am I recording on my end? Or who was recording the web function?
That's a tab one.
The video or
I
the
could see-
chat?
Oh, I got the chat.
I have the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also like sort of saved to YouTube. So we're gonna go in there and chop it down, cut out all the beginning stuff, and all the stuff after the goodbye from Dina.
Okay.
Hey, we're still on YouTube. Team, we're still on YouTube. I'm sorry. Charlotte just informed, so we're still on YouTube live. So Charlotte, are we shutting that down or? Tam, you have to shut the YouTube down at this point.
Yeah, you ready? I can shut it down right now.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
All right, great job, everybody.
All right, thank you, Nicholas. Thank you.
All right.